Chesapeake Bay Bridge Reconstruction Advisory Group. I'm opening this meeting of the advisory group and hereby call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. We are holding this meeting in person at the MDTA Police Building at the Bay Bridge. Attendees should note that this meeting is being recorded and will be available on the BRAG webpage after the meeting for attendees to view and download. Attendees should also note that the recording will include the audio and video from this evening's meeting. Presentations will be available to download from the BRAG webpage. I would ask that anyone in the room with us this evening please refrain from speaking unless you are presenting or answering questions so that background noise is minimized for those viewing remotely. If members of the public pre-registered to comment on specific agenda items, I will provide you with an opportunity to comment after the agenda item is presented. We appreciate everyone's patience. We ask that you please introduce yourself by giving us your name and community you represent before moving on to your question or comment. Members of the public joining us via Microsoft Teams will be able to view the meeting only. For security reasons, the chat function in Microsoft Teams is not enabled for MDOT personnel. Any posts entered in the chat window are not visible to staff and will not be responded to. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded in its entirety. For the record, all members are present except for everybody here. Very good. Thanks everyone for attending.
That is being represented by.
There it is.
Still represented, right?
Right.
Before I move on to our first agenda item, there are some membership updates. MDOT Director of External Relations, Lynn Farrow, has been appointed as the Secretary of Transportation's permanent representative to BRAG. Thank you very much. Glad to have you. I'd also like to welcome Mr. David Arthur to the BRAG. Mr. Arthur is representing Anne Arundel County as a county appointee replacing Kurt Regal. I'd like to thank Mr. Regal for his service to the BRAG. Thank you very much. And we'll do is go around and ask everyone to please introduce yourselves for the benefit of all the members. Well, your Arthur is new, so let us know everybody and give them a little history. And we'll start. Barbara.
Barbara Ditching, Broadneck Peninsula.
Tracy Schultz, Cat Island.
Nick Diotis from Queenstown.
Jack Broderick, Cat Island.
Will Pines, I'm Executive Director for Maryland Transportation Authority.
I'm Terry Seuss with the State Highway Administration. I'm the Deputy Administrator representing our Administrator, Tim Smith.
And I'm Lynn Farrow, Director of External Affairs at MDOT, representing the Secretary.
Commissioner Jim Moran from Queen Anne's County.
Steve Wilson, Centerville.
Donald Schloss, Annapolis.
Annapolis.
Pat Lynch, President of Broadneck Council.
Peter Bradley, Broadneck Council.
Thank everybody for continuing to serve on the board. Welcome to new guests, appointees. It's a little warm out there and everybody taking vacation and stuff, so I'm glad everybody got a full house tonight. So I'm glad. Thanks everybody for showing up. There's better places we could be, right? We always have a good time, so. First item of business would be to elect a chair and vice chair for the upcoming year. In accordance with the bylaws, as the outgoing incumbent, I will chair this meeting of the BRAG, and the newly elected chair will begin this term at the next meeting. The group will now nominate and vote on a chair before proceeding to nominate and vote on the vice chair.
I nominate Tracy Schultz.
Nominations, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Thank you very much. So now we need to vote on the vice chair. Vice chair nominates Barbara Hitchens.
Barbara Ditching.
Second, are all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against?
Need a second.
Next second.
Next second. We have, thank you all for picking up to continue to serve in our capacities. We're doing a good job, I guess.
I do nothing. You do.
You do a lot behind the scenes, so you get a lot of contacts and stuff.
Once you get sick, then.
Oh, right. Don't jinx me, so. All right, well, thank you all. So, next we have approval of our first agenda item is review of the minutes of the previous meeting held in April. They were passed out to everyone, and if I had any issues with them, they should have brought them forward to Melissa and had them straightened out by now. We didn't get any of those comments, so anybody have any problems with them? A motion to accept them as presented.
I so move.
Second, all in favor? The next agenda item is an annual report. The report is currently being finalized and be submitted to the governor and general assembly shortly after, which it will be sent to BRAG members. So that had been sent. For any corrections or
That's been
changes.
submitted. So when it's finalized, I'll send it to the final everything.
Melissa did a good job on that cohort over there.
Charles.
Charles keeps it quiet. He don't say much. He does a lot behind the scenes too. All this stuff that much. Thank you all for your help with that. And she gets that straight. It'll be presented to the governor and to our group as a final. Next agenda item is requirement of House Bill 56 with group activities. That's the same things. BRAG's duties. They provide MDTA with independent citizen informed perspective of authorities operations at the Bay Bridge. Thus potential concerns about activity at the Bay Bridge and educate the public about activity related to the bridge. And work with the MDTA and provide pertinent input related to traffic and customer service issues. So, regardless of the new members, what we're supposed to do is report back to this meeting with anything you find out from the public. Anything you learn here to take back to the public and inform them of what's going on at the Bay Bridge and surrounding. So at this time, if anybody, any members would like to share their individual educational activities and interactions with the community since the last meeting?
I have something to say. The biggest complaint I hear, and I hear it gets worse every day, is that people traveling in the red X and the yellow X line, and nobody gets ticketed, nobody gets stopped, and it causes a mass traffic congestion. I hear it all the time now, and it's just, it's like a drumbeat.
I've heard the same thing now.
And, you know, I have to get the police writing tickets, but if we're gonna improve the bridge, you're gonna have to do that, right? You're gonna have to write those tickets, even if I get. stuff.
You might get.
But that's the biggest complaint I'm hearing.
Everything?
Just similar to what Nick has said, I've heard the same kind of complaints that they're using that amber or yellow light all the way down until the very end. And they don't see any enforcement at this point in time. They may be missing it,
Right.
you know.
Couple things. One is we had a great local Kent Island outreach opportunity in May, Kent Island Day. We had really good participation from MDTA, including several folks here, listen. Talking directly to folks, getting feedback, sharing feedback. We had representative group from Easy Pass. And we also had, again, Bay Bridge, the MDTA police, very professional color guard leading our parade. And I want to continue to do that as long as you guys would be willing to support it. Of course, Tracy and the Kent Island Fire Department were always a good show. But you know, we have a couple thousand people there every year. It's a state established celebration of Kent Island, third Saturday of May since 1977. So I have to give that plug for our Kent Island heritage. But thank you, MDTA, for being there. It's a good opportunity, and I think it's important to take advantage of that. You know, the regular stuff is the challenge of the backups, and you know, Richard's. I don't know how you do it, man, but you know, trying to balance contraflow. It's been a huge challenge this year. I think is probably more than anything. A lot of it weather related. Some of it is just judgment call related, and things change literally in a matter of minutes. But you know, there'll always be public concern about that. No, no doubt about it. I did have one issue I wanted to share, and I can take this up with whoever, but had a friend who sustained car damage on the bridge by a blowing barrel several months ago. And she reached out, and essentially, after a number of different missives, was told it's really not an MDA problem, it's a contractor issue, had to be taken up with the contractor. And I'm not sure if that's the official policy or the best policy, if that kind of a sour taste. So I just share that. Is that really a contractor responsible issue if a barrel blows in front of a car and causes an accident or significant damage? I just share that again. Thank you all though for the job you're doing. We were talking before, there's a lot more goes into running this bridge than most folks realize. And we can't ever, I guess, miss opportunities to keep telling that story. And that includes many of us in here. So thank you.
On the, barrel question.
Yeah.
Right? So, MDTA does have some insurance, but much of what we utilize is the state as we're self-insured.
Mhm.
And so claims related to vehicular damage from something that's alleged to be caused by the state are submitted to the treasurer's office for a claims evaluation. They are the entity responsible, essentially, and acting like an insurance company for us. And so I don't know if what the constituent was, if they received that from the treasurer's office, or if the person they talked to just knew that it was a contractor issue. We'd need to know a lot more of the circumstances. But if the treasurer's office made the determination that the contractor was the responsible party, then it would become an insurance issue for them, just like any other accident. So that, when you ask, is it our policy to decide that it's a contractor? No, we don't have a policy like that. It's more like, imagine if you got in a car accident, somebody wants to say or a crash, not an accident, most things are crashes. But if you got in a crash, your insurance company's gonna wanna verify who was the responsible party here. That's what happens through the treasurer's office.
Yeah.
So the constituent, I would recommend, if they didn't file a claim with the treasurer's office, do that and let them make a formal determination.
Thank you. Sorry.
The treasurer's office usually will always in the process contact us and we'll contact the contractors, contact all the work and everything, and then send it back stating that.
Thank you, guys.
No, mine's gonna be more later. Okay.
Wilson? You think? Wilson?
It's a moment.
Learning like, right?
Yes, I've had several comments about the closure of the ramps on Whitehall. And
We're gonna dive into that later. Okay. We're gonna dive into that later.
the fact that they're gonna close it on the same day, and I thought when we initially discussed it, that it was gonna be staggered, that we would close Oceanic or 31st, and then you see how it goes, and then on to the next, so.
Anything else? Thought that? Good. All righty then, we'll move on. Next, updates on current projects from MDTA Chief Engineer Jim Harkness and MDOT SHA Administrator Tim Smith.
Very soon, same additions.
Who wants to go? Where do you want me to go?
Sure.
Break the ice for you.
Yeah.
We could use some ice in here.
All right, good evening, everyone. As I said, I am Jim Harkness. I am the Chief Engineer for the Maryland Transportation Authority. And we'll just go over, hopefully, quick recap of our active construction projects on the bridge. So, as you can see, we've removed the two projects that have been in place for a number of years on each side with the AET plaza removal and the installation of the automated lane closure system, as well as the on this Western Shore and then the Eastern Shore project as well. Those are all but completely punched out. So we removed those from the list. So we'll move on to BB 3013, which is our on-call structural repairs contract. That again, that project is utilized to make structural steel, concrete, any miscellaneous kind of repairs to our bridges and the roadways that we would find routinely during our inspection cycle. And so the contractor has, we've assigned 39 tasks to this contract, and 28 of those 39 are already completed. So we will continue to utilize that as we have a new and additional inspection findings. We'll move on to our next project, BB 3012. That's the queue detection system. That project, again, is a collaborative effort with SHA, University of Maryland Cat Lab. That is a project to develop a queue detection and travel time system on the approach roadways. It gives the decision makers some additional data on what's occurring on the roadway, and then with the help of University of Maryland, there will be software that helps predict what will be occurring on the roadways to give a heads up about what we would expect to occur over the next, hopefully, 30 minutes. That project is nearly complete in terms of construction. All the sensors are up. They are operational and integrated into the existing software. The only thing, there's some camera work that's left to finish up on that. That should end the construction piece. And then that leads to the software development and the algorithm and some of the deep learning and automated intelligence that Cat Lab is developing for this project. So that is the data is available to us. It's just not a complete package, you know. So we are starting to be able to look at that and refer to it. And we have the high demand periods, so that's good. Okay, move on to the next one. BB 3017. This is the eastbound bridge deck replacement. We're calling it phase 1, package 1. So that's just the piece of the bridge, the eastbound bridge between the suspension span and the through truss. So currently we have two cranes out there on the water in place in that area. They have temporary works underneath the bridge, some stair towers as well. So that temporary works is an ongoing thing that'll move underneath the bridge as they progress with their work. They've been working on installing utility relocation brackets. They are working on some of the strengthening that has to happen of the structural steel underneath the bridge to receive the new panels. So that work is also ongoing, and they'll be starting to demolish some of the existing conduit that's out there. The contractor is also working on getting a casting yard set up in Curtis Bay. And they're doing some survey work as well for us out there now. As I said, this was package 1, so obviously there's going to be a package 2. And so that work is also underway, and so that's on the design side. And so we are meeting with the contractor as well as the design team and developing that package 2, and that package 2 then handles the remaining spans that are part of this phase 1, and that is sort of the area of the curve, if you can visualize that curve area. And so
it doesn't come all the way down?
No, okay, no, those are different pieces of the bridge, yeah. And so we'll be working on finalizing that design. We're at 90% now, and we'll get that to 100, and we'll obtain pricing and hopefully be able to award and get that to the contractor so they can essentially just keep on moving.
Can I say, doesn't include the rest of the bridge yet?
Doesn't include anything on the eastern shore side from the.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Just coming down around the boundary you're talking about with the structure underneath changes.
Yes.
Right.
I just want to be clear that we do anticipate
Oh, yeah.
future phases.
Yeah.
Right, okay. That's why it's phase 1, package 1 and 2. And then, so as you pointed out, towards the eastern shore, the through truss itself, the suspension span itself, the piece from the curve onto the western shore, yeah, those are additional pieces of the bridge. Okay. Let's see. BB 3004 is the construction project management office and equipment storage building. So this is again, a site that can store some of the equipment that maintenance uses to maintain the bridge. And so this project is, we've taken bids, but we haven't awarded yet. So it's still an active procurement. So there's not much I can really say about that other than to sort of describe the scope of the project. And lastly, the new project is a replacement for the first project we went over. So essentially it's just, we just repeat those same contracts over and over. So it's another on-call contract that will again, just address inspection findings as they come up. So that replacement should be advertised early next year and in place next summer. And so that's all I have. And before Terry comes up, I'll turn it over to Melissa for an update on the Bay Crossing study.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I'm Melissa Williams. I'm the Director of Planning and Program Development at MDTA. Just wanted to give you a quick update on what we've been up to with the Bay Crossing study. I have to ask a question. June 27th, was anyone watching an online public meeting? John. We were there. Anyway, on June 27th, we held an online meeting for this project. It was a listening meeting for transit, bicycle, and pedestrian. That was the topic of the meeting, and it was purely a listening session. We provided a little bit of explanation about what the existing and future plans are for bicycle, pedestrian, and transit in the area on both shores. But we really just wanted to open up and hear what people had to say and get some opinions. So as I said, we gave a brief explanation of the transit plans, or I'm sorry, the existing transit, including the new parole transit site. For bicycle pedestrian, we did a quick overview of the different trails that exist on both shores. And then we opened up for a live poll, which was, I thought it was pretty interesting. We just asked folks some questions about their interest in transit. If there was transit, would you use it? What would you use it for? How often would you use it? We got some really interesting feedback. Then we opened up and we did some bicycle pedestrian poll questions. Of course, we don't currently have access, but if we did, would you use it? Why would you use it? Would you use it to get to work or for recreation? How often would you use it? It was really interesting. I really enjoyed hearing the pure feedback, because we had the polls going while the meeting was going, and we were watching things populate for what people had to say. Not surprising, we did hear that folks were interested in transit over the bridge. We didn't get as much detail about transit desires, other than they thought transit should be available. So it was a little bit open, the input we received. Regarding bicycle and pedestrian, I'd say the overwhelming thing was that people really wanted that amendment to including the potential for recreation. Kind of what we thought we would hear, but it's always good to get the feedback directly from individuals. We had once we did the poll, then we opened up for live comments. So folks could either type in the Q&A, it was a Zoom meeting, so they could either type in the Q&A their comment, or they could call in and we would put them on air and they could give us their comments. So we received over 40 comments in the Q&A, so that was the written in comments. And we received 22 people calling in and giving their input, giving their testimony, if you will. We had 172 unique attendees, and about a little over 100 people participated in the live polling. So these numbers, if you're saying, well, is that good? Is that bad? These numbers are great. These are the kinds of numbers that we get for in-person public meetings that we advertise like crazy for a month. So we got really good numbers, and like I said, really good feedback. I thought it was pretty encouraging. We left the polls open for 2 weeks after the meeting, which ended yesterday. So what we did is we closed the poll and we'll post the results. Now, these aren't results as in a decision has been made, but it's just some statements that we could say, hey, we received 100 people gave input and this is what folks had to say. So we will be using this information to help inform us as we move forward, looking at both transit options, the potential of transit options, as well as the potential of bicycle and pedestrian accommodations on any potential future crossing of the bay. So all of that said, we finished. So now what are we doing? Now we are working very diligently to prepare to come out to the public again. We'll be coming out with public meetings, both in person and online. We don't have dates solidified, so I can't share just yet, but we're looking around early September. And what we will be sharing essentially is our screening criteria. And what that means is, how are you going to tell if a crossing location is good or bad? So we'll be talking about the study limits. If you'll remember it during tier 1, we came up with the study limits of Severn River Bridge over to the 5301 split and then a 2-mile wide swath. Well, we've done some research, we've done some study looking at natural and man-made environments and looking at what kind of constraints we had. So we'll have some more information to talk about our study limits. The biggest thing, because I'm a numbers nerd, we've got the traffic counts that we were taking last summer, last fall. We've got those numbers. So we're able to take those numbers, put them on maps, and we'll be able to talk some traffic together. We're in the process of analyzing those numbers now, keeping in mind we're still working on building the future model. But these are current numbers, and it's very interesting to get a better understanding of the traffic patterns. We all know that there's a lot of traffic, but understanding where the movements are going and coming from, we believe will help inform us and help us come up with the best solutions for solving some of our traffic congestion at this site. So with that, we are very busy. Doing my math here, we'll be back here in October together, but we will let you know when we have the dates for those meetings. Melissa will be sending out information to let you know the dates of the online as well as 2 in-person meetings, each for a course. Something I want to mention for Melissa, you might want to say more, or do you want me to take? Okay. Jack, thank you for, it's discussing public involvement. Melissa is our public involvement lead. I wasn't sure she wanted to take over. But we've been doing our very best to get out into the public this summer. Basically, we just want to meet with people. We want people to know this study is going on, and we want to hear what you have to say. That's what we're looking to do. We did attend Kent Island Days. The weather was a little bit iffy in the morning, but then it got nice. We were lucky. I was a little bit nervous what was going to happen. But we've been to several events, I believe 6, 8 events already this summer.
Yes, and our upcoming events are posted on the baycrossingstudy.com website, so you can see where we're going to be, as well as send me your events if you want to see it there.
Any events?
Any Queens County Fair?
I think we.
It was on your list. You gave me the list and it was on there.
We have,
And Anne Arundel County.
we haven't heard back final. on this.
Take an air conditioner with you.
Yeah.
The bride
Please.
fan.
That's my place.
The hottest thing in Queen County of the year.
Okay.
As far as participation.
Yeah.
But temperature wise, it is very hot.
And the most is,
Most citizens,
Yeah.
right?
So we've had many interactions with folks, and really, we're just grateful to get out into the communities and for people to know that we are working on this. And as I said, what do you think? What are you just interested in?
I'm looking to come to the hospitals, farmers markets, really go where everybody is. So.
We actually, our carnival starts Monday the 17th. Here. Sure, that's something you want to go to or not.
Whether personally or professionally, yes, that sounds fun.
All about funnel cake, right?
Any questions or anything that you would like to share with me? Any other community events that you would like us to appear at, or anything that information that we could provide? That, of course, we will be coming out in late September to meet with BRAG. We figured it would make more sense for us to come once folks can see what we have to present in early September, then we'll have the opportunity, we can engage with you and answer any questions that the council might have.
We'll talk about it. And I have my three.
Yep.
my three of them.
Yeah, so we didn't forget.
Thank you.
We just, right now, we don't have a lot to share because we're diligently working on pulling information together. We're doing more collecting of information, but come mid to late September, we'll have an awful lot to share and to discuss. Thank you. Of course.
Melissa, I'd say probably the biggest concern I still hear
Mhm.
is, all right, crossing Cat Island.
Mhm.
Where's it gonna go? You know, where, not only where the bridge comes down, but what's the infrastructure gonna look like? And how wide?
Yeah.
Is it gonna, and we've talked about this, I think, and that's a biggest challenge really coming up, because you take out literally the cultural, economic, historical part of Cat Island on either side of Route 50, so.
This whole process, I like to compare it to building a house. If you don't build a good foundation, doesn't matter how nice the house is, it's not gonna stand,
Yeah.
right? We're building that foundation. It's not the pretty part of the project, but it's a really necessary part.
Yeah.
That's exactly where we're going. Right now, we've got the traffic numbers collected. We're working on developing the model. One of the things that we will be showing is potential lane configurations. How many lanes do we need? Little spoiler, give out a piece. You guys all know this already.
Right.
The bridge, a one lane on the bridge can't handle as much traffic as one lane of roadway. So we have to think of these
Right,
things.
sure.
So just, little things like that are what we're compiling now to look at our criteria for how do we figure out what to do. We do have information we'll be sharing about resources, both economic resources, buildings, houses, businesses, historic properties, and showing just how tight we are within the corridor. We will be sharing that information as well. So, thanks. Tammy?
Thank you.
Terry?
All right, so again, I'm Terry Seuss, Deputy Administrator for Operations with the State Highway Administration. So I'll give a quick background on some of the ramp management we've been working on. So as we've been trying for many years, as the signs always say, we try and keep traffic on US 50 that's intended to cross the Bay Bridge and destinations east, and the reverse for Queen Anne's County when people are returning from the beach. So last summer, we did a pilot study where we had a temporary signal at exit 32 Oceanic Drive. We operated the signal Thursday through Sunday for two weekends. And again, that was intended to relieve some of the congestion on the service roads, improve safety on the service roads, and have some help emergency responders, anyone who needed to use those service roads, just again, relieve that congestion. We found that it's a system. So the bridge and all the ramps and everything really needs to work together in order to get a more conducive traffic flow, I'll say that. So over those 2 weekends, it was inconclusive. And what we really need to do is kind of change driver behavior. We use some origin destination data, and we found most of the drivers who use the service roads are Anne Arundel and surrounding counties going to Queen Anne's County and close by destinations. So it's not your long distance travelers going to beach vacations once a year. It's more local people who know how to get around. So we're trying to change that behavior. So this summer, as was reported in the minutes, we proposed 3 options. The first option included temporary signals again, this time at exit 32 and 30. The second option we proposed was one-way operations on the service roads. So the northern service road would be your eastbound direction, and your southern service road would be your westbound direction. And the third option we proposed was temporary closures of exits 32 and 30. We presented that at the BRAG meeting, and then we did go to the Broadneck Council meeting, I believe late April or early May, and presented that same information. And then we had a survey open for a couple of weeks to receive feedback. Exit 31 in the middle, I will say, in all of our options, we did propose to close that permanently. And we did that operation on June 28th. So that location was a little bit different. We found it to, when we were looking at it last summer, it's a substandard intersection with a high-speed facility like US 50. And it's very close. US 50 and the service road are very close there. So it's a very confusing intersection. And the feedback we received from community members, local businesses, people we talked to, is that many people avoided that intersection because it was confusing. So we did permanently close that June 28th. So we're now looking at the pilot study, which begins tomorrow, July 13th, for the other two exits, 32 and 30. And we received overwhelming support for option 3, which is the temporary closures. We received feedback from about 60 people. And mostly people did not, no one liked the option of the one-way service roads. That was not a popular option. And they didn't think that the temporary signals would be as effective as just closing ramps. So that was the option that we selected. We are implementing tomorrow. So we will temporarily close with barricades. We will have Maryland State Police there as well during our peak periods to help direct traffic around. So anybody wanting to get onto US 50 eastbound will have to use exit 29, which is St. Margaret's roadway. That's about a 2.5 mile detour for anyone about this location. Again, we felt it's important for this to act as a system. And that's why we chose the plan we did. So I know there's going to be a lot of feedback, so I'll open it up to questions now.
I'll be glad to go first. Or no, let Ms. Lynch go first.
Did you ever think of staggering them so that you have a 2-week or 1 week delta between between closing the ramps, like tomorrow closing 32 and then 2 weeks later closing 30? Because what we know is going to happen is most of your drivers on some summer weekends are going to the Eastern Shore, further to the beaches. And they may only do this once or twice, like I go once a year, that's it. And so you have a whole new group coming every weekend. They're not gonna know what to expect when these are closed. I follow traffic. It's sort of a thing with me. If I get off at Old Mill Bottom, I literally will follow the traffic that goes past my neighborhood. And I follow it up to the Bay Bridge. They try to enter on 32. And so seeing so many of them, there's going to be U-turns. And if there's a crush of traffic that is all bundled up there, how are you going to handle? Because I spent a lot of time this summertime sitting up in like anglers and watching the traffic, or going up close to the bridge, watching to see what people are doing. If there's anything that can be done or has been done to improve it. How are you going to deal with all these U-turns of people who are trying to get back?
So we did experience that last summer as well. And again, that added to the confusion. So we did try and get out the messaging. So all the overhead boards already have the message out. We are trying to reach people before, if that's their intent, is to use a service road to get to exit 32. We're trying to get that message to them before they do that. There are some local businesses, along there that might be their destination to stop at McDonald's or another location. They would just have to turn around then and go back to exit 29.
Yeah, so many people are from Pennsylvania and PG County, and a lot of people just don't read the electric signs. they're driving and they.
Correct. I understand your point. I agree. We saw it last summer with some of the U-turns. We are gonna have state police there to help us direct traffic. Hopefully that helps. And again, the data we received from last summer, a lot of this is local traffic who knows the areas. So if we can help reach them, we think we'll have a positive impact.
Are you gonna notify ways that the
Yes.
of the new change?
Yeah, so we actually already did, and they actually have this already pre-scheduled in their nav app. And because of their relationship with Google, once that closure goes into Waze, Google should pick it up. Yes, and they did also confirm they've already made the change for exit 31 as well, so Waze no longer recognizes the exit 31 closure.
So my understanding is 31, you'll be able to exit onto the side road, but not get back on.
31 is closed now. We've actually put guardrail.
32,
Correct,
you'll be able to exit but not come back.
correct.
30 is close. 30 was dangerous, and the others the same. So you will, okay. What do the business people say?
So many of the businesses, understood what the challenge was. I think a lot of their employees, anyone who was delivery had problems accessing the service road, as part of their business. So we've heard, again, relatively positive comments. It's a pilot. We're starting it tomorrow. We are continuing to monitor and continuing to receive feedback.
So it's still, was it 6 weeks? How many?
So we were planning to do this through the Labor Day weekend.
It's just, well, it's 4 days a week, Thursday.
Correct.
Who keeps some people on 50? That's for sure.
That's
U-turns, Miss Pat. What are we gonna make U-turns? I don't understand that.
Well, they just-
Barely make you go down the
They
street.
go down Whitehall Road, they back into somebody's truck,
Oh,
the
okay.
drive, and then make
You
a
almost have to go on the
U-turn.
street to make a U-turn.
Yeah, they U-turn any place, they don't care. Across the grass.
So the real crunch was when we did the pilot is up close to Oceanic, right nearby, and they were just making U-turns one after another.
Maybe you're not using the red light over here. Can we take it on our side?
Queen Anne's County side. So yeah, I spoke with our district engineer this morning. We plan later this fall to meet with some of the local businesses along that corridor. We want to plan that out. And then we can do a pilot on the Queen Anne's County side next summer.
Just a silly question.
We could do it now, just on the exit ramp to Route 8, just on the right lane, not to let cars run up Route 8, don't really need it, but they're just an exit ramp to Route 8. That's what causes all this 50 to back up, because all the cars cutting off, get back on, they make everybody back up on this low lane stuff, trying to let them get over.
I assume if you can close lanes in Rumble County, you can close them in Queen Anne's
Not
County.
close lanes, to close exit.
Oh, exits, exit ramps, yeah.
We're closing on ramps. Yeah, yes. Again, we're not denying access to US 50. It's just a bit of a detour to get around.
So how did you get the data of who uses the access roads? I'm curious how you come up with local surrounding.
So we contract, the University of Maryland has a center that they don't collect this data, they receive it. They have many sources and it's that cell phone everyone carries around, actually.
Really? So you can probably tell us on any given weekend, how many vehicles go over the Bay Bridge from Maryland, Virginia, New York, New Jersey. You can give us the whole litany.
Well, we would have to buy that information,
Really?
but yes.
So you're through the tolls reading the license plates. You couldn't gather that data from just where a license plate.
That's the transportation authority.
We,
Oh,
in
I'm sorry, yeah.
the Bay Crossing study, the tier 1, we had origin and destination information in the study report that showed the to and from that use the bridge today. That was in the report. That's already out there. I'm sure you could comment, Melissa, on, did we refresh that with the latest traffic, or is that something down the road?
It's something down the road, we will have new road data.
Okay.
So in other words, you want to buy everybody's history.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no like personal information attached to that. Yeah.
It's not your license plate, it's this.
Right.
It's a very lovely big building.
Yes, I can follow.
Well, I guess, you know, I guess I want to start with the red X's. And I know everyone here is constituents, everybody, you know, the first thing that comes out of somebody's mouth is, how come nobody's out there putting tickets? And I know that you're doing tickets. But I think what we need to do is, whatever side has the contraflow or doesn't have the contraflow and has the lane closures, there, you either got to put a truck there, one of your safety trucks with the crushable rear, or you know, police. I think that is probably the biggest complaint we get. Everybody wants to do their part. They stay in their lanes, and I'm coming over just now from the eastern shore. 5 vehicles passed me in the red X and just merged all the way up front. And I think that maybe this organization, as we move forward with recommendations, I don't know if we should vote on these things or what the case may be, but it seems like it would, you know, when putting it in a report, items that we look at, you know, of importance should be noted.
Right.
So, you know, I
agree, because when the cars come down there like that, they get up to the red, and all of a sudden they're stopping, almost stopping, trying to get over to let them over. So
Right.
everybody's got to come to a stop instead of getting in at 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, merging in nicely, and everybody continue.
and they don't do that. So, you know, again, and what's gonna happen, I think this weekend is with these ramps all closed, it's gonna get a little squirrely out there. So, you know, the more police you have, the better off it's gonna be. But if you want to control it and allow that traffic to flow, the red X has to be monitored. It has to be monitored, it has to be enforced. So, you know, I think that's the biggest thing. And I know we've said it before and we continue to say it, but you know, I think it needs to be part of the operational mode moving forward.
So a couple things, let me, few points on the red X enforcement. One is, we have gotten several requests to install cameras for automated enforcement. We do not have the statutory authority to be able to do that. We understand the concept. But there's a lot to that, because as you noted, Jim, there's red X's sometimes on the eastern shore, sometimes on the western shore, which is a lot different than like a camera enforcement at a signal that is stationary and you can do it the same all the time. So there's a lot of complexities to that. You know, open to working with legislative concepts on that, but at this point, we don't have the ability to do it.
How about a sign that says red X camera enforced?
Like lie to them.
Tell me you don't have it already.
We can ask the AG, I don't think we can do that one.
But you put at the bottom of the sign, real small print says, just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be going so fast, they wouldn't.
That's
even-
right.
As far as the idea of stationing an officer or a TMA in the lane, you know, the lane use control signals were placed and spaced at an interval to make sure that there was proper sight distance leading up to the gates, so that the gates wouldn't get hit. So putting an obstruction in the lane for the majority of the time, yeah, I hate to point to work zone safety and all that we constantly are talking about, but it's kind of dangerous to do that. And we frankly aren't gonna put an officer sitting in the lane.
Well, I didn't mean to sit them in the lane, you put them on the shoulder. Either way.
Right, but then they're really there to enforce it. That's what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Right, so on that point, how much enforcement we're doing, typically, we don't have an officer here, but I knew we would be getting red X questions. So I invited our Lieutenant Colonel McKenzie to attend tonight to kind of give some perspectives on the magnitude of enforcement we're doing, and it's a regular thing. The MDTA police, they've got a lot of responsibilities. I asked them to do commercial vehicle enforcement on the lane, in the contraflow lane. You name it, they do. Weight checks, there's a lot of activity that happens here. They have to respond to emergencies, fatalities, you name it. They're busy people. So they're trying to do enforcement on a lot of different layers and be present here as much as possible. Perception is reality. We understand that. but that we cannot be physically available to only do this all the time. However, we are doing it a lot, and I had some of the Lieutenant Colonel convey some of the numbers, so I'm gonna let him, unless you wanted to jump in for a second.
Well, yeah, I think you already have an MOU with Queen Anne's County,
Yes, sir.
so can our deputies do it?
Within Queen Anne's County.
Correct, that's what I'm saying, so the westbound traffic, we could handle that.
If it's in Queen, yeah, if they're in Queen Anne's
Okay, just want to make sure that there's no, something would prohibit them from,
Yeah.
you know.
And let me first say, I hear you. It's frustrating. It's frustrating as a law enforcement officer, and it's frustrating when I travel somewhere with my family, whether it's here at the Bay Bridge or you're fighting traffic on 695 to get off on the 70 and folks are cutting off onto the shoulder. It's frustrating. I hear you. And the men and women at the Bay Bridge attachment hear you as well. So far this year, we've made 1,000 traffic stops, over 1,000 traffic stops related to Red X enforcement. So that's a lot. I'm actually newly promoted lieutenant colonel. I've only been in this position for 30 days.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm getting my feet wet still, so please allow some time for that. But 1,000 traffic stops related to Red X enforcement is I think very positive. But just in talking to some of my officers, they're frustrated as I'll get out as well, because folks are still doing it. So it's ingrained in them. They know it's a problem and they're enforcing that. Unfortunately, we have tons of problematic driving behavior, distracted driving, impaired driving, aggressive driving. So it's important for them to stay focused on the whole gamut of everything. But I can assure you that they understand the priority of this as far as that goes.
No, I know it's a manpower issue and, you know, to put somebody up there 24/7, you know, on either side, but I think that in Queen Anne's County, we're gonna put some deputies down there.
I tell you what, I'm gonna go back. We do have concurrent jurisdiction with Queen Anne's County. I just want to read that one more time, just to make sure I'm not telling you something wrong.
Okay,
I will do that and I'll call you. I'll call you tomorrow if that's okay.
absolutely.
And just make sure we're on the same page.
Great, thanks.
I have two questions. The first one is those cars, the empty car, and then the second, are we using them?
I don't want to get into a whole lot of tactics that we use, if respectfully.
Yes, it is recorded, right? People can watch it, but yeah, okay, but, okay, I'll just leave it there. And then the other question is, Red X is such a catchy phrase, and I should probably know. Are we doing a campaign?
We have done, you could probably pull it up on social media, the video that we put out.
Okay.
We've done multiple videos. When I personally have done several news media interviews and have emphasized that this is just like a traffic signal. When it's red, you're not supposed to be going through it. And we've made clear, there was a period where there were perceptions that the Red X was conveying what was supposed to happen on the bridge. So our messaging is getting refined, and we've made it really clear that the enforcement is on the approach. It's on before and you know, on the bridge, before the bridge, and after the bridge, you'll get a ticket if you're riding in that Red X regardless. And so we're learning what people understand and adapting to that, because the system is relatively new. I do want to say traffic at the Bay Bridge has been a problem for decades. So the Red X is not like the source of the traffic. This traffic was there before we even had an automated lane closure system. But that being said, we are learning some and we've adapted. And I think, I don't know, Charles, if I'm really putting it to you guys to pull it up from social. I'd be happy to show you the social media that we shared on Twitter and Facebook. Encourage you to share it locally in your communities too. But the truth of the matter is, we also, our comms team looks at social media on other platforms to get an understanding of what are people. This is an issue that people are, just like speeding, right? Lieutenant Colonel talked about driving behaviors. People know they're not supposed to text and drive, and they text and drive. People know they're not supposed to speed, and they still speed. People know they're not supposed to ride in the Red X, and they still do it. That's the reality here. We are educating people that there's an issue, but in truth, we see through many other platforms, people know that this is not a legal action and they're doing it anyway. They're taking the risk. So we're enforcing, I mean, 1,000 so far this year, kind of a lot, you know. Hopefully people learn their lesson after a while, but it's one stop at a time, you know. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
just trying to catch up on the Red X. I don't travel the bridge. I lived here all my life. I'm like Pat, once or twice a year I go over. So the Red X is actually a lane that's open.
This
There's
video,
no traffic coming that on the lane.
let's play the video because and if you don't have that question answered from the video, I'm gonna have to do another video.
Fair enough. Okay.
One thing one of the problems is you don't know anybody, and anybody know anyone in the room who got a ticket for Red X?
Not gonna stay out of it. Nick?
The point is, when you start hearing somebody got a ticket for Red X, then you'll know it's made its way around.
We see people on social media saying, ha ha ha, see, they got that sucker pulled over.
I'm glad.
You know, there's definitely people that know people.
I
that
don't
got
know
tickets.
anyone in Queen Anne's County who said I got a ticket for Red X. You do?
Do you know people that admit that they're riding in the Red X Red?
I have, and I've made it right here.
No.
I understand that. When you get to the Red X, you can't immediately veer out of your lane sometimes.
But there's a yellow.
Well, no, that's. Yellows are fairly recent. Yellows. Yellows have been there forever.
There's a lot. I've always seen the
Yells have been up since the new extended.
To answer, let's play the video real quick, if you don't mind. You got it, Charles, am I stretching you here?
No,
Well,
They loads.
go ahead.
You have some.
What you're saying about the Red X is a traffic in that lane.
that's what I was questioning.
Contract flow, there, that is correct. On the westbound bridge, that's correct. You have Red X, there's could be cars coming towards you if the contract flow is in.
Yeah.
But most of the time, approaching the bridges, the Red X's are getting you over out of that lane because it's closed.
Okay.
On the actual lane use signals, for your direction of travel, if you see a Red X, you can't be in the lane. If it's in contraflow,
Yeah.
the signal on the opposite side is a green arrow.
Yeah.
So it's green for them,
Okay.
red for
Because I
you.
mean, in the video, there's no traffic in that lane. That's why I was wondering if there's traffic coming at you.
There is later when you get to the bridge.
Okay.
That lane was off the bridge.
Gotcha. Okay,
Right.
that's my question. Thank you.
That's just their contract flow too.
And is there a red light under those that puts a red light on the road?
No.
Oh, okay, that was just,
No, the way, that was just to kind of like really convey that it's closed off.
okay. Cause that would be really cool if we could do that. Don't ask me how.
Jim's looking at me like, I don't think so.
Jim, isn't there like
The webpage link to everyone that has the video and the flyers.
These are regulatory devices that meet all of the federal requirements and all, so we can't. That signal on the ground, I don't know if we can do that one.
Oh, no, that would be really cool if the light could come up from the gym.
They do.
The lights would come up from the road.
They do. They do. Travel. They do. They're not, they put lights in the roadway. So when you go switching from one side of the road to the other, you're going through LEDs that are in the road.
You have that.
At the crossing.
Yeah.
Oh, at the crossing. Okay,
Both sides of the bridge.
I would never, ever cross the bridge.
No, quick question. You blew through the point right away about the fact that you didn't have regulatory authority to put cameras up, because God knows if you had a sign that said $300 fine for riding the red lane, that would knock it dead in a minute with no labor cost at all. is it beyond any legislative recourse to get the law changed so you do have that authority and you can throw a sign like that up? Because that's the easy right way to do it.
Putting the sign up, the fine sign up is doable. I just don't think it's not $300, so I don't think it would be as effective as you're thinking. And I want to say that in a way that is like, leave some room for discussion later. In other words, if
You take the point I make, though. I mean, it is in the end an enforcement and a threat.
if there were an elected official who suggested to raise the fine significantly, that could make the deterrent greater.
Yeah.
There's elected officials who can add a whole buttload of zeros.
Yeah.
One other thing I did hear about your gates. And I see this morning, and yesterday, I passed two of them, they got pretty much blown up by something.
We have had strikes.
Yeah.
Certainly people not obeying the signals
Right, no.
contributes to that.
But I've noticed it, and other people have said that also, that, you know, the light is at the very end, just flashes the little arrows. And if lights could be across the top bar, I think it makes a greater presence when they're coming up on it, because sometimes, you know, and I can see where somebody would.
Almost be illuminated more than what they are.
Yeah, illuminated more what they are, knowing that when they're not illuminated, it's open. And when they're illuminated, it's closed. So I think that more light there might help you, but that's, you guys, I know you do study after study, but I'm just.
I don't think it's a study issue. I think they're manufactured products that I don't know if that's like a custom design.
Yeah, I mean, they're crash tested, and anytime you crash test something, first of all, you go through the process, it's lengthy and expensive. Then manufacturers are hesitant to make any modification outside of what was tested, so adding up. You know, they can't guarantee that nothing is changed about from what they tested, so they open themselves up to liability if they okay putting anything on it.
So you guys can't go out there and string a couple Christmas lights across the top of that thing, call it a day.
Right, because then he modified something that was worthy and we don't know. And the second part is just for your information, of the gate strikes that we've had.
Yeah.
Only one has been outside of daylight hours. So.
Right.
That was another issue, but
So they're happening during the daylight.
almost all.
And that's what they're saying. They're saying is there's not enough light there, that's, you know, and then all of a sudden, and these are the people running down the red X and, you know, they're coming up on it and then all of a
The
sudden.
big
it's like,
red X light
yeah,
didn't cut it, but
right.
the gates.
So, right, that's what my point is, you know,
I don't
we fix the red X issue, we fix that problem.
I would say that adding a string of LEDs and LEDs to a device that's across the lane is not gonna be as effective as the 5-foot LED red X's that they just drove under. All right.
Correct. But if you're not monitoring and enforcing it, then you're back to square one.
I mean, you know, what, I don't know, I didn't see the damage that you're referring to from the other day, but most of what we've been seeing is strikes on the end of the gate.
Yeah, this is the gate it was in pieces hanging down.
That, yeah, I'm not sure on that.
Yeah.
But-
That was this morning.
Oh, that was this morning.
Yeah, or yesterday morning, one of the.
You know about that one?
Yeah, we've got, but they're all hit in the same area.
Yeah.
And, but the majority of those,
They also
end up fixed them, to some degree, so.
So, yeah, a lot of it has been on the end where it seems that they may be trying to get, you know, ride the lane up to the end and get over. So we are, you know, my office, we're working with Richard and monitoring this. See if we can make some tweaks that, you know, don't
Sure.
get us in.
So since we brought Richard's name up. I've noticed the last 2 weekends, you know, last summer, the summer before, Contraflow on Saturday was open. It was like, almost like clockwork around 1 o'clock. You know, the backup was 2.5 miles on Kent Island and Contraflow stopped and 3 lanes went westbound. But for the last 2 weeks, I've noticed like that Contraflow hasn't switched until anywhere from 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And talking to you, Will, you said that the counts are higher and
The westbound.
the westbound counts are higher. So, well, if they were higher, then why didn't we open them? we didn't open up contractflow. The contractflow was still in effect. I'm just trying to say, how are we, what is the plan there and how are we administering that for, on Saturdays when contractflow is running and not running? I know it's running in the morning, it makes perfect sense and it runs, until the backup gets so far, but is it?
There's actually trigger points that we have in place regardless if it's Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, or whatever. And it's all based on number of vehicles as well as of the backups and queues. And so based on that for each side, we'll determine when we can go in and when we have to come out. As well as, we have to monitor that third lane to make sure there's enough traffic to carry across, right? That. And so those trigger points that we talk about with, vehicles per hour and how many they can be and cannot be versus the backups and queues, including on the Queen Anne's County side, Route 18, which we're including as part of that backup, will determine whether we go into contraflow or when we come out. But what we've been seeing, and what I think you're talking about, is a lot of traffic that's coming westbound on various days, which is heavy.
Right.
And because it is heavy westbound, we're trying to get out of contraflow, but a lot, that's probably which time we're trying to get out, right?
Well, no, I'll take, I think it was this last Saturday, backed up, almost 8.5 miles.
And I totally agree with that. Something happened different.
And I guess.
It's not just one, it's 2 or 3 Saturdays in a row.
Yeah.
13 people, 13 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is, when 2 lanes, when you're in contraflow and you have 2 lanes coming westbound and it's a backup, they're crawling. So I don't know where you're counting them because, naturally, if you got 3 lanes rolling and they're doing 50 miles an hour, you're counting a lot more vehicles, which makes it look like there's a lot more vehicles going eastbound than there are westbound because the westbound's only doing 20 miles an hour. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out, what can we tell the public about, why this is going on all of a sudden? Because
Let me take that part.
Go ahead.
So a couple of things. We did a presentation at the BRAG in October 2022 that gave the exact thresholds that we use.
Right.
No changes. We're still following the same practices. What that threshold talked about was volumes. And so how are we going to deal with the public message? That's your key question, right? One of the things I've asked our comms team to do is to take a few specific scenarios where we got public feedback, like, what are you doing? It's all backed up, but you don't have contraflow, or you do have contraflow and it's backed up the other way. To step through the exact volumes that occurred at that time frame to show that we did the decisions based on the volumes.
So where are you getting the volume numbers from? Where are you counting the traffic at?
I don't know the exact counting.
We actually have devices now with that project that I talked about. We have devices on the other side of Severn River, on the other side of Kent Narrows. And then traditionally, we have 2 devices, one on each side of the bridge that can get both directions at either location. So when you have queued up traffic eastbound, you look at the sensor on the eastern shore because that's got free flow traffic over there. And vice versa.
Okay.
Westbound, you look over here because, you're likely to have free flow traffic over here.
So I guess for an example, can we get the last 2 Saturdays and how?
I'll give you an example right now. I have one open and it takes a while for them to compile all of this in a way that I can say an example. But we got this similar complaint on Father's Day weekend and on Juneteenth. The 2 days were back to back. And on the morning of Father's Day, that's a Sunday, we ran 2-way in the morning and we ran it up until about the 11:30 hour. So that was favoring eastbound. Despite that favoring eastbound, it had backed up to exit 41A, 4.4 miles westbound. Okay, backed up on the island. Why? The volumes eastbound at that time were 4,092 vehicles per hour. Okay, each lane volume, the capacity is around 1,200 to 1,300 vehicles. So 4,092 that we would then try to dump into 2 lanes. Not going to happen. It's going to back up instantly. That started to decline at around the 12:30 hour, and we saw that it was falling, so we came out of two-way. At the same time that we were at that 4,092, we were only at 2,686 vehicles per hour westbound. So it backed up 4.5 miles. It is above, if the two-lane city is 2,400, we're at a surplus of almost 300 vehicles an hour. It's gonna back up. But that's, what is that, 3/4 of, doubling the volume essentially. So it's significantly less volume in the westbound direction than it was eastbound. So if we had said, we're gonna go ahead and pull two-way, we don't care how high the volumes are, we're gonna pull it anyway, eastbound would have backed up twice as far as westbound did. So it's, I hate to say this, we've said when we went through that presentation on the life cycle cost analysis, our traffic models predict concurrent backups. They predict it's going to back up in both directions.
Right.
To where two-way isn't, it's a shell game. You're moving the volume from one side to the other to whoever you're favoring at the time. That's the example of Father's Day. Juneteenth, we had the opposite problem. We did not run two-way at all. That's everybody's coming back from the beach on a holiday weekend, right? Did not run two-way at all. Eastbound at 1 p.m. was backed up. Actually, 12:30 was backed up 5.5 miles. At 1 p.m. was backed up 4.5 miles. Folks are asking, why is westbound not backed up at all? But you're letting that run even though eastbound's 4.5 miles. Again, the reason why, westbound volumes 4,116 vehicles an hour, eastbound 2,410. If we had switched it, it would have devastated the other direction.
I get all that. I guess what I'm trying to get at is there's more vehicles now going on Saturday mornings.
And not only that, it's not just Saturday. The patterns that we have traditionally seen in the past no longer exist.
That's
Those,
bad news.
that is the bad news,
Right.
which means that immediately throws us into what Will was just talking about, that there's gonna be backups and queues on each side.
But are you counting over, this is the curious thing then, getting to that point, is Thursday night, Friday night, Saturdays, Thursday night, then Friday night, then Saturday mornings, that group of vehicles moving eastbound, is that same amount of vehicles coming back on Saturday night and Sunday night?
Not always, because
So
what's happening is, remember, again, traditional
Yeah,
patterns.
yeah.
Traditional patterns, everyone was going to Ocean City. When we talk to Ocean City, they're not going to Ocean City. They're going between Ocean City and the bridge. So some of those people are leaving earlier, some are getting there sooner. So the whole pattern is just completely thrown on, as opposed to everybody going and everybody coming back. They're all spread. And that's why we're seeing Monday through Sunday with heavy westbound, heavy eastbound concurrently. And so you know as well as I do that the Eastern Shore, as soon as we start to back up, it's very difficult to recover from.
Right.
And it's a little different on the Anne Arundel side because you have some room to recover. Queen Anne's County is a little different,
Right.
Because there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And so once you start to build that backup in queue, and if they all start to come, because sometimes what you have too is we'll have an issue or a crash at 404 and everything's held up, but there's still traffic coming through. And then when that's released, here they all come.
Yeah.
And so all of those factors, that it's like an accordion kind, and there's just too many vehicles. We just don't have capacity.
We all agree on that.
Yeah, we understand that we've been, for trademark reasons, we can't call it bridge busters, but we're thinking of what do we call this to try to debunk some of the things that like we're being arbitrary about it. We're using real data. It's based on the volumes and a combination of volumes and backups, and we're monitoring it regularly. They're just high. There's not another way to say it.
Yeah, and we put that out, in our meetings, when contraflow goes in and out, why it goes in and out, and then the traffic numbers, but we gotta have a better way of communicating that to the public to understand that, the reason why, we're still in contraflow on a Saturday afternoon and things are backed up 7 miles is because there's just that many people on the road.
it seems arbitrary, but I understand you, Will, what you're saying. And I know, Richard, you're working on this, but to the average person, it sure as heck seems arbitrary.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
the answer is hard.
The answer's not hard.
Well, the answer's real easy, actually, though. There's just too many vehicles. We just don't,
Yeah,
we just can't handle that many vehicles. We're just.
Everybody kicked the can down the road for 20 years and now
Yeah, it's something
Can't
different,
around.
no question.
No, I thought it's absolutely mathematically correct. I think you're right, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't argue it. You got it.
I mean,
Working.
we don't want to drown people in numbers and be too engineering. I love that myself, but we're gonna figure out a way to distill this down. We do in all of our gov delivery messages about the traffic indicate we're not running two-way because westbound volumes are too high. We include a message like that,
Good.
but if people believe us,
And how many
that's a
people get
different
the
story.
message? You know, that's frustrating.
Well, and remember that we're dealing with not only individuals in this barrel, that there's people outside that we're probably unable to reach.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's that factor.
So, you know, that brings me to your ramp project over here, which I'm very pleased about. I think it's kudos to Anne Arundel County for getting it done. You know, but that's 2.5 miles, 2.7 miles, whatever it is, and 3 ramps. We're dealing with 9 miles and 15 ramps. And it's a nightmare in Queen Anne's County. But with that being said, we don't want to wait till next year. We want to put the temporary red light up on the Route 8 ramp and see what that does to deter people from jumping on to 18. We have a couple exits we can close once they get past the exit. But we're looking at Nesbit, Winchester Creek, is it, what's that, Tom? Is it?
Winchester.
Yeah, Winchester, Nesbit, Winchester, and the Kent Narrows. And, you know, closing those ramps when it gets like this. You know, and then keeping people, that'll keep everything open on 18 all the way down to Casa Marina. Casa Marina is the hard spot to do. And you know, we're gonna look at that. But I think what I'm gonna propose that we do is run a couple town halls, because the public just is clueless. They really are. And, you know, to get Richard, I mean, the numbers say that was an excellent explanation. You know, they're seeing these closed and they're like, why aren't we doing it? You know, we've been good. We were told we couldn't close ramps. I said, no, we were told we couldn't restrict ramps. You can always close them. So I think that's something that I think that we're gonna have to move forward with. Because like you said, these numbers aren't gonna go down. They're gonna go up. And we gotta have a plan now, or it's gonna get, you know, one thing that we don't have that they're blessed over here is they have another way out. We don't have it, you know, from the Kent Narrows to the Bay Bridge, it's just an iron. So.
the problem too, close all Kent Narrows, 41 and 42, then you run into close off all your.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. That's what the town hall's for.
But
Every business is gonna lose their money.
To the Kent Narrows, that's where your money's coming
Oh,
from.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm not gonna be happy to close all 41 and 42.
No, that's what I'm saying. So that's, but the public needs to understand that from your standpoint, and you know, everybody has to hear on the side. to
I'd rather
understand.
see you sit up on the other side of the old Kent Narrows Bridge on Main Street and make everybody go back out to cut off the road at 41 or 42, make them turn and go back out by the old outlets back on the 50 westbound.
But it has to be everybody. That means that if I go to dinner and I get out there, that's what I'm saying is, if I'm coming back from Easton
Right.
and those ramps are closed, I gotta go further down before I can get access to come all the way back to Bennett Point Road. So you can't show favoritism, you know, with the exception of ambulances and, you know, emergency services. So these are things that, you know, we're looking at.
Friday, we had to back up, and then we had a cardiac arrest in Stevensville, our fire trucks went out on 50. To make those access, because it used to be older, then go down head on into traffic, on me, and I need to, because it's dead stop, they're fighting traffic head on.
Yeah.
So they went out on the highway, back in Duke Street.
Yeah.
You know, and just
It is, we have to do something.
Say so. Good.
You know, and I'm glad you're doing this here, and I hope that it works out, and, you know, I've got people that work at Northrop Grumman right here. And there's like, you know, I sent them an email explaining to them, and it's, oh, so you're telling me to suck it up. You know, now I can't get on here, I gotta go all the way down and jump on. I said, or you could just not work Fridays and then just have to deal with it on Thursdays, so. There's other ways around it, but you know, we know the problem. I mean, we all know the problem, we all know the solution, but we don't know when the solution's coming or if it's coming. So, You know, it's something that would make me want to sell them,
Sure, we'd be happy to work with you on the town hall.
yeah. Yeah, we'll do the town hall meetings, but we're gonna take your, where's that red light, little concrete stand thing sitting right now?
Oh, we rented it.
Yeah, you rented it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, then we can make that up then. All right. Okay,
Well, if you rented it, that's a sign it's only temporary.
yeah,
It wasn't temporary.
You know, you want it permanent.
So that might have a tractor or something break down and go Instagram. All right, so anything else, Jim?
that's enough for me.
Yeah, I have a question and a comment. Did you all hear on the 4th of July weekend, and I can't tell you, Barbara had called me about it.
This is a rumor I heard. My neighbor called me and said he had heard this from someone else, but because traffic was so backed up on the 4th of July westbound, that apparently the drivers took it upon themselves to make College Parkway 2 lanes westbound towards Arnold. I didn't see anything in the paper or hear anything about it. Did you all hear any rumors or?
Not sure if you're.
They said the police were called and they went to College Parkway and opened it back up again and made people, get out of the non.
People have been in traffic for so long that they just said, I gotta get out of here, and they turned north on College Parkway.
Westbound?
Yeah, westbound. They made
Usually
both
across the
lanes
bridge,
westbound.
they're flying. They don't have to.
There was a period, I don't remember the date, we did have a fatality. Westbound, that it's possible they were diverting folks around. I'm not sure what
And like I
happened.
said,
They just took off and just completely shut down any eastbound or southbound traffic on East College Parkway. I say east, it's College Parkway.
The day
Yeah.
of motorcycle.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
So my question then after that is,
We,
you are all saying that there are places to go on the west side that we're landlocked over there, but we have places where we haven't found them. Because St. Margaret's Road, remember, was the old pathway to the Eastern Shore. That was before 50 was built. So that's solid with traffic and a lot of the cheaters that, they'll still do that because they'll still come on it at St. Margaret's Road. But where are all these places they can go? The only place I can think of is College Parkway. Because we're peninsula, we have a road through it, and there's a little St. Margaret's Road, that's the only place they have to go.
well, your St. Margaret's Road is our Route 18.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you still got College Parkway.
Yeah.
So we don't.
Yeah.
And you gotta remember, they all gotta come back again. You get out to the bridge to cross over. So that's the problem. It's not so much that, if you have 1 or 2 roads, and all roads lead to Rome. Rome is right out the window here. So, everything's been built for the last 55 years to get to those bridges without any thought of a second crossing or increasing the size of the bridge in the last 30 some odd years, so capacity. And that's Will's fault, so we'll blame him and we'll move on.
Anybody have anything else? Updates on the MDTA and SHA? Okay. So we're going unfinished business. There's no unfinished business from the April meeting, so move on to new business unless the member has any objection. All right, new business. New business is a reminder from MDTA Assistant Attorney General, Principal Counsel, Kim, Bill Lincoln. Regarding artwork and copyright and BRAG presentations. Come up and bay it.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Kim Millender, Principal Counsel at the AG's office with the MDTA. And I just really wanted to remind everyone about any materials that you might be preparing or presentations or things like that that you might want to share with the members. Just be sure that any materials that you might be using that might be copyrighted or trademarked, that you're appropriately sourcing. In particular, if you're using any kind of artwork or photos, we need to make sure we have adequate permissions. And if you have any questions, please work with Melissa and she'll work with my office and we'll make sure we have appropriate permissions. It's really important, particularly the materials that are shared at the meetings are now posted on our website. So they're available for anyone to see. And we did recently have an issue with an archive presentation. that had been posted on our website had a photo. Unfortunately, it was a photo of a beautiful photo of our Bay Bridge, but it wasn't one that we owned. It belonged to a private photographer. We actually had to pay a license fee for that. So it's kind of a shame. It's just one of those things. I think somebody pulled it off of Google and put it on the presentation. Like I said, it was beautiful, but it's not one that we have permission to use. So just a reminder, please make sure you source stuff. If you're not sure, please work with Melissa and she'll work with my office, as well as our comms department. We have lots of photos and things like that, that, you know, we clearly own and have permission to use. So just a reminder, and if you have any questions, you don't hesitate to ask me. Thanks.
Thank you. I have one thing, we're in new business. The commissioner's got this, it's a Maryland 18 planning and environmental linkage study. But sure how our group will get involved in it, it's part of the Maryland 18.
Yeah.
Traffic flow, we're very familiar with this coming in.
Yes, that's led by our planning department at State Highway.
So they'll be having like meet people and go over different, so they can present their ideas and stuff, different things that.
And see the flyer.
Sure. Just give you a website to go on. Just basic information
To all residents.
You got that in the mail?
I got 3 of them in the mail.
Yeah, we got this.
You guys look at it. My wife.
So there's no meeting, it's just.
Well,
Can't be a resident.
There's a QR code.
yeah,
Was it maybe?
Is that us?
it may be, located in Chester or Stevensville.
It looks like it's like an online survey to give feedback. I don't see that there's a meeting scheduled.
I'm sure they probably will have.
I can take that back to the team if they'd like to have a meeting.
I'll get they'll have a few. I mean, we meet with some of the people that are interested in getting them comments.
Yeah, very definitely.
Okay.
That's an interesting corridor, to say the least.
Yeah,
The utilities on both sides.
there's no room for
Wide open shoulders and ditches and
people
no
walking,
turn lane.
people riding bikes, guy in a fire truck, there's nowhere for people to move over, get out of your
Yeah.
way, they run in the
Yeah.
ditch, stuff. It's just, the whole thing's a mess. There's a whole lot of, I think, opportunities there to help with traffic on 18. That I'm not sure people have authorized some of those stuff that have happened there, but I've had ideas for years, but they always, like I say, nobody's proactive in the state. Down and blame on anybody sitting in here, but it's the way it is, where everybody's, you don't build a school until it's way over capacity, you put 20 portables out there. You can't see the kids in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade or 300 east. That means 1,200 for grades, so if you get 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, you have a high school that holds 900 kids, well, you got 1,200 kids coming up. 4 or 5 years, and your high school only holds 900, it's time to build a school before they get there, not after they're already there, and you put 6 portables out there, and everybody's sitting in a little portable building and stuff. Everybody's reactive to stuff and not proactive. You try to give them ideas to be proactive. Like the bridge, I mean, I've been proactive years ago, Ocean City study building there. Everybody's been in the higher authority than us sitting in this room has kicked the can down the road, and now here we are.
Yeah, so just working in government for almost 20 years.
Yeah, you see it every day.
Everybody has to prioritize where you can make your time and resources. And it's tough. There's a lot of needs throughout the state, and we do the best we can with what we've got.
And that's not yours. You try to perhaps projects that would help and they get kicked to the side. Yeah, it's not your fault. You know, try to give them ideas.
I do want to make one statement for the record, is probably one of the most dangerous intersections is missed even on this new study, and that's Cox Neck Road.
Okay.
It's a jointly owned intersection. The county owns part of it and the state owns part of it. And the state piece, people exit off of Route 50 and don't know where and stop. But the county part of it already has stop signs on it. And there's a new apartment building opening right now, so it's going to become even more dangerous. I'll be happy to share any information or get any additional help we get from the state. Again, that's Route 50 and Cox Neck Road. 39A, thanks some people.
Yes, I have one thing that's It may seem.
Yeah.
I have one thing that may seem minor, but it's really not. The brush on East College Park,
Pat's got a question too.
the brush on East College Parkway between Route 50 and the Parkway, as you get closer, as you get further east, it's dangerous. It flows over under the roadway. That part of the roadway is narrow. I have been run off that road twice in the last 6 years.
Growth of the trees, brush.
No, it's not mowed. In other words, first of all, it gets very narrow as you get up towards the bridge. I mean, there are pockets that it widens where they have the, you know.
That's under the county.
But it needs attention truly, because I don't usually have problems with oncoming traffic. But if there is a wide, if there's an 18-wheeler, or if there's a box car, or even a trailer.
Is that Anne Arundel County, or is that state on both sides of that road?
No, my west side, right up within, from Cape St. Clair Road up to the Bay Bridge.
Right. So I'm talking about, are you talking about the service road?
The service road, East College Parkway.
Is that East College Parkway a state road, or is that a county road? That's what both of them are state.
It's a state road. And it's the brush that grows up, the lawn gets really full, and it falls over onto the roadway, so that people who are driving on that side, that's the part where you're going eastbound. And they move over to avoid going into the brush. And if you're coming westbound, that's where any wide truck, or van or something, they just go over the double yellow line. And
Terry, checking it out.
I will bring it up with our district.
yeah, and then on the other side, on the Whitehall Road and Skidmore side, complaints from people who.
They were cutting the brush, just on a secret.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good, good.
They were cutting it back to the guardrail.
But I don't know what kind of a schedule, if you could keep it on a schedule, that's important. And we know that every 4 weeks, or whatever is appropriate, it will be cut, and we don't have to tell people that, that we can't do anything about it, because it's a simple thing, it's a lot simpler than making repairs to the same.
Somebody else have any new business? All straight, what we need to do.
Yes.
Anybody else have any new business to be brought before us?
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody? Guess not. All right, now we take public comments. Do you have anybody online? All right, our next meeting is scheduled to take place on Wednesday, October the 4th at 6 p.m. at this location. Please have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all for all your time and effort. They will sit along with CFA.